I'd hauled big rigs along the interstates for over 20 years, confident in my ability to handle any route. But taking that strange deserted road my GPS suggested has me questioning everything. When it directed me off the main highway onto some dirt back road, I figured maybe there was an accident ahead. But mile after isolated mile, the same scrub brush and rock formations lined the crumbling pavement. Not a single car passed either way, no road signs or cell signal either. Just static on the radio and this endless repetitive corridor slicing through bare wilderness. Stopping to consult the GPS showed it somehow locked onto a route not corresponding to any actual map. I didn't even recognize the landscape reflecting back under the relentless high noon sun. Cursing the glitchy technology, I shifted into reverse, ready to turn around, when the low fuel light dinged unexpectedly. What? I filled the tank just before heading out. Confused and increasingly uneasy, I had little choice but to continue onwards, hoping to reach civilization before getting fully stranded. After what seemed like hours, the fuel gauge bordered on empty, though the repetitious surroundings revealed no sign of nearing anything larger than a village. My attempts to detour down rough dirt spurs proved futile, the asphalt looping back inexplicably to this same confounding passage. Only the rocky backdrop differentiated between delusional mirages under the baking sun. The GPS flickered uselessly despite no apparent power issues. I caught myself pointlessly fiddling with the radio static in search of a signal that never appeared. Exhausted, gripped by gnawing hunger and cottonmouth from limited rations, I started experiencing micro-sleeps lulled by the rumbling engine and optical illusions of the landscape. Suddenly, a voice infiltrated the cab from no discernible origin. I jerked awake, convinced my exhausted brain imagined the brief snippet. Straining into the silence, I continued scanning the monotonous horizon desperately until, yes, somehow a voice cut through the white noise static. A few garbled words before fading uncannily as if transmitted from another reality. I nearly swerved off the baking pavement, struggling to make sense of disembodied voices potentially warning me of what exactly. My foggy mind conjured half-formed premonitions of equipment failure or heat stroke mirages stranding me forever on this endless loop of desolation. Gripping the wheel with sweating hands, I pushed the accelerator harder despite the fuel gauge needle brushing empty. Logic and reason deserted me, fleeing this unfathomable corridor defying rational laws of time and space. The piercing voices infiltrated again, unintelligible yet layered with urgency, compelling me to heed their cryptic bulletins, cling to their inhuman frequency like a lifeline before losing all grasp of my own sanity. I forgot bodily needs, forgot destination or purpose beyond unraveling the voices' enigmatic clues promising escape. The speedometer climbed dangerously, but laws and limits no longer applied in this lawless realm. I leaned into turns, chasing mirages on the shimmering horizon, praying to glimpse anything familiar before this high-speed chase into oblivion shredded my last fraying tethers to reality. I have no concrete memory of the fiery impact, just sensations of weightlessness surrendering to centrifugal forces against an unforgiving stone embankment. As light faded all around, relief washed over me knowing my escape finally arrived courtesy of loud guardian angels. A code only my flickering consciousness could decipher, voices continuing to filter through the smoldering wreckage strewn along the side of the nameless road. Their comforting messages assured no one ever escaped the confounding loop, but my sacrifice brought the hope of warning others. Let all who pass here heed the warnings of those claimed by forces beyond comprehension. As darkness claimed me under red-black skies, gratitude swelled inside. My ordeal over. Now someone else can carry the messages forward through the radio static, shivered lost travelers to safety before the faceless corridor claims more lost souls. Driving the desolate stretch of highway through the mountains late at night always messes with my head. The road winds through complete darkness except my headlights reflecting back from the reflective markers. So when I spotted a shadowy figure in my high beams waiting frantically, my first instinct was annoyance at the inconvenience. But cruising closer, I saw what looked like a young woman dressed oddly formal, peering desperately into each passing car. Something about her scared body language made me pull over, though every fiber of me screamed stranger danger. As my rig groaned to a stop, the woman ran up clutching the tiny purse, eyes enormous. "Oh, thank God. Can you give me a ride to the next town? I'll explain on the way." Too bewildered to ask questions, I motioned her into the passenger seat. The overhead cab light showed a disheveled blonde in an ill-fitting cocktail dress and one broken heel. Mascara-stained cheeks told a story of extended distress. Settling back onto the lonesome highway, I asked if she was okay. She swiped at smudged makeup, voice shaky, explaining how she escaped a disastrous blind date an hour back. Thought the guy was fine over dinner, a bit older than expected but polite with a great job. Things took a turn when he insisted on an after-dinner surprise picnic in the middle of nowhere. At a creepy abandoned campsite, he started making very forward advances despite her clear discomfort. When he angrily refused to take her home, she waited for an opportunity, then maced him in his leering face. While the guy writhed blindly on the ground, she grabbed her shoes and bolted down the dirt road in sheer panic. She'd been stumbling barefoot in the dark for ages before I came along. My blood ran cold at the thought of this young woman fleeing that remote creepy scene, knowing full well the dangers of this secluded mountain route after midnight. Stubbornly pushing away visions of worst-case scenarios, I focused on comforting platitudes that she was safe now. But the girl kept anxiously peering behind us out the dark windows, insisting her date was probably chasing us down right now. I assured her very doubtful anyone could locate a moving rig at night without lights or road signs to guide them on twisting backroads. Still, her irrational panic stirred my own mirrors until I found myself compulsively checking the mirrors too. Of course, nothing but pitch blackness filled them for endless miles. Finally, the lonely highway delivered us into brighter outskirts as we approached the nearest town, lights twinkling welcomingly in the distance. My rattled passenger gave a massive sigh of relief just as we passed the highway patrol station. On impulse, I pulled in to alert them about her ordeal, but open parking spaces sat oddly empty at this late hour. Cutting the engine, I turned to suggest she report the incident inside, only to find the seat empty. Shocked, I swung open the door, scanning the neon-lit pavement around the idling truck. Not a soul stood anywhere nearby, certainly not the disheveled young blonde I just drove 25 miles. Heart pounding, I stumbled into the station, ready to sound every alarm. But a bored attendant glanced up casually, saying deputies were out on Highway 10 responding to an overturned vehicle accident. In confused disbelief, I haltingly described my apparent phantom rider vanishing minutes ago. His bemused humor faded at my genuine turmoil, leaning forward solemnly under harsh lighting. "Mister, did she happen to mention a green sequin dress or mace?" The words knocked breath from my lungs. 3 years back in high summer, a local girl's body turned up brutally assaulted and dumped in the woods off Highway 10. Detectives figured she escaped a first attack attempt based on traces of mace residue in one lost sparkly heel. But her luck didn't hold out, running scared in darkness on the most desolate stretch for miles. In my mind, I saw the terrified girl from my truck clearly, dress glinting dark green, broken shoe, tiny purse. Understanding descended like a crushing weight. I had picked up a murdered ghost seeking safe passage to the next world. Somehow, her unrest tethered her soul to that cursed road, doomed to frantically flag down drivers, forever repeating her doomed escape into the void. Excusing myself, I ran for the truck, gulping huge breaths to slow my hammering heart. Safely inside with doors locked, the full impact of my brush with the paranormal overtook all logic and reason. Peering desperately into silent darkness, irrational hope filled me that I'd catch one last glimpse of the murdered girl. My spirit passenger, who against all reason chose my rig to make her hopeless, endless journey into eternal night. Her haunted presence still permeated the passenger seat, seared into memory beside miles of lonely highway, now infinitely more ominous. A perpetual reminder that sometimes the living fail the lost, and dead strangers rely upon the mercy of strangers yet living. The first fat raindrops splattering my windshield warned of menacing skies lurking ahead. I was already hours past my planned route, exhausted and ready to call it a night. As if answering a prayer, an old truck stop emerged from the woods lining this narrow state highway. The fading sign for Route 66 Truck Depot stirred fleeting memories from my dad's glory days on the open road. The place looked deserted, windows boarded and pumps long idle, but still, better than braving the impending deluge another 20 miles to the nearest hotel. I eased the creaking rig into the weed-cracked parking lot as the last gloaming light surrendered to the clouds. Killing the engine, I hesitated, taking in the dilapidated storefront, trying to recall if Dad ever mentioned this particular stop. The sagging overhang offered only slight protection from the now pounding rain. With a sigh, I sprinted to the porch, peering through filthy windows for any sign of life. Just the ghostly outlines of shelves and a counter visible in the next lightning flash. Trying the door, I startled when it creaked open. My hesitation wavered against the prospect of getting stranded in a total downpour. Stepping gingerly inside, the powerful smell of must and disuse tingled my nose. I swept my phone flashlight over 1970s-style racks, still surprisingly well stocked with snacks under a thick blanket of dust. The cash register drawer even contained a few scattered coins, as if hastily abandoned long ago rather than permanently closed. Wandering toward the stockroom, my light revealed drifts of moldy cardboard boxes, several torn open with contents spilled recklessly across the floor. I froze, realizing the mess couldn't have accumulated through years of neglect. No, some looter must have rummaged back here recently, judging by the lack of dust coating the upturned refuse. Heart quickening, I retreated toward the safer-feeling front room, until a definite scuffling from the direction of the manager's office halted me. "Hello? Anyone here?" After an agonizing pause, soft thumps answered, almost too faint to perceive. Gripped by childlike fear, yet also duty-bound to secure the premises, I summoned my courage and advanced slowly. Nudging open the scarred wooden door illuminated nothing amiss within the abandoned workspace. Yet undeniable instincts screamed of unseen eyes tracking my intrusion. The entire building seemed to teem with unseen energy just beyond perception. I jumped at a sharp bang echoing from the stockroom, followed by muffled whispers. Armed only with boldness, I crept back, yelling, "I don't want trouble, just trying to escape the storm." The whispers silenced instantly, leaving only the rain's hypnotic drone. In the beam of my shaking flashlight, disturbed cardboard flaps now concealed a sizable crawlspace. Dark hollows beckoned me to follow the secrets below. Heart pounding wildly, I crouched down against screaming self-preservation. Squeezing into crushing blackness, I crab-walked several yards before the passage opened into an astonishing dirt chamber. Glyphs and strange symbols marked the earthen walls, lit by dozens of burned-down candles. Shovels, pickaxes, maps, and all manner of occult items were strewn haphazardly, as if awaiting the next devious plans. Horrible understanding numbed me. This long-forgotten truck stop hid the ghostly remnants of a murderous cult ritual site. Fleeing that hellish buried chamber, I heard phantom footsteps trailing mine own. Spectral arms clawed desperately not to be forsaken again into silent darkness. Threatening whispers accused me of desecrating sacred ground, violating codes of secrecy binding innocents to their vile mission. Staggering cocky through narrow gaps, my raw hands finally scraped concrete foundation. I crawled desperately until blessed rain soaked my delirious collapse behind the building. Cowering against bone-rattling thunder, I glimpsed figures darting soundlessly across the lot, merging with sheets of rain obscuring all reality. Had I unwittingly unleashed malignant spirits doomed to haunt this cursed place for eternity? Still soaked and trembling hours later inside my locked cab, lightning continues, revealing wraiths swarming the abandoned truck stop in crazed patterns. Their wordless shrieks audible over the idling engine, begging the living to join their timeless rage, boiling just below the sodden rural landscape. But this humble way station holds only suffering for lost, road-weary travelers now. Its insatiable ghosts will mourn eternity over secrets I disturbingly exhume but can never rebury.